Welcome to Sub-Auteurs. We like movies. We are your hosts. I'm Misha.
I'm MJ.
I'm Anjo.
And today we are going out into space with a movie that takes place in a galaxy far, far away.
Huh?
Wrong franchise.
Look, there's a big sand planet, an evil emperor, giant sandworms,
Oh,
a
that's
chosen one who has mysterious, undefined powers. Right, Star Trek.
Fucking idiot.
Today we're doing Dune 2021. Over the course of this episode, we will see if the director of Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, Denis Villanueve, was able to stick the landing on this much-awaited sci-fi adaptation. And roll the music. So today we are talking about Dune, the epic adaptation from director Denis Villeneuve of the 1965 sci-fi novel by Frank Herbert. And it is something that's been a long time coming. It's not the first time that this has been on the big screen. The previous adaptation was actually by David Lynch back in 1984. It had Sting in a very, very uncomfortable looking leather metal bikini thing. And
Wow.
Patrick Stewart with hair, and
A lot of things that were unsightly.
it was very confusing. It made no
Yeah.
sense.
I have not seen it, so I'm gonna be giving the perspective of just someone who's seen the 2021 one.
I've attempted to watch that movie for, I don't know, I think I've tried it for like 3 times now. And every single time I would fall asleep. I don't know. It's just a
It's
convoluted
alright.
mess.
It was very convoluted, and they tried to compress way too much into the 2-hour runtime. But that's not what we're gonna talk about today. We're also not going to talk about the Sci-Fi Channel's attempt of doing a mini-series based on this. So let's see what Dune superfan Denis Villeneuve cooked up for us here. What did you guys think about the movie?
Pretty epic. I really liked it. Just off the bat, I really enjoyed it.
Epic is
Yeah.
a good word to sum it up.
And in the recent years, actually, that I've seen Villeneuve's work is that he does so well in building all these sci-fi universes, and I think it's really good for him to actually start one of his own. Not his own, but at least for the modern visual and sensibility and the modern
interpretation.
audience, he can finally create something, start it from scratch on his way, as opposed to Blade Runner 2049, another his last work that I really enjoyed too. That was actually a sequel to the original back then. So yeah, now he's starting fresh. It's not a part 2, so you could really see his love for sci-fi, and that showed. That really showed.
Somebody actually made a joke online that I saw saying that Denis Villeneuve can actually just make an ongoing career of taking cult movies from the 80s and making $100 million adaptations of them, and we would all be there for it.
Oh yeah, I'd be there for it.
I think that's fairly accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, it's one thing to do a Blade Runner movie because, like,
That's freaking Blade Runner.
yeah, I mean, like, it's another thing to do Dune because, I mean, like, if you've seen the book, if you've seen how thick the book is, and if you've read through it,
I'm
like,
not even gonna
like
try.
a few parts of it, you know how dense the lore is. Like I've been wanting to read that book a long time now, but every single time I try to browse through it, it just intimidates me just because of the sheer amount of politics you'd have to get through your skull just to understand everything that's happening in the book. And I think this is what Denis Villeneuve did really well, was that he kind of streamlined it just well enough for somebody who doesn't even have an interest in sci-fi understand it, because that's what my wife said. She enjoyed the movie, and like knowing the source material it came from, like that's pretty big for her to say that she enjoyed the movie, because it was, compared to other sci-fi movies, quote unquote, like this one was mostly talking. It was mostly politics, and
Mm-hmm. I was actually worried at the start because this is a whole new world. A whole new world. Never mind. Anyway, sorry.
Fantastic.
Yes!
My leg.
yes,
Yeah.
we got Risha to sing.
Y'all suck.
So, this is my first time to be introduced to this world since I haven't seen the last attempts at making movies. I haven't read the book at all. So this was completely fresh for me. And that's what worries me all the time for something that I'm getting introduced to. If it's way too slow or information heavy, that I'm just gonna feel that, especially with all these otherworldly names and places, it's usually gonna make me feel super overwhelmed. But that didn't make me feel super overwhelmed. I think it's just right to actually introduce me to this new setting and everything. So yeah, not bad.
I didn't enjoy myself.
What? Why?
I didn't
Wow.
enjoy myself.
Why?
Right.
Why?
Huh? I don't know. I've been talking with a few people and it just didn't hit me the same way. I don't know if I was in a bad mood or if I was tired. I don't think I was. I mean, I was awake for it. I was excited for it. But I don't know. I found it exactly what Anja said about the book. I found it overly dense and somewhat plodding, and it was very user unfriendly. And for me, if I didn't already know the plot going in, I probably would have lost it halfway through. But that's me. I appear to be in the minority because Warner Brothers just greenlit the second movie. So
Yes.
I have a theory though, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's like Blade Runner 2049 or Gravity. These are movies that I adored when they were on the big screen, but I have difficulty sitting through when it's on TV.
I understand.
It just hit me completely differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get
I
it.
totally get it.
Because
I totally get
it's
it.
so hard for me to watch Blade Runner on the TV.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous movie. This movie, Dune, and Blade Runner 2049, they're absolutely gorgeous. No question. The production design is top notch. The cast is amazing. The costumes look fantastic. The sets are brilliant. The blend of practical and CGI is amazing. But, I just couldn't get into it. And I realized that the biggest arguments I have with people who like it are like the ones who saw it like on the IMAX in the States or who saw it in cinemas, because they were able really to experience it the way that it was intended. I don't know if that makes sense. So maybe I had some inherent resentment that I couldn't see it that way.
To be fair, you might have a point because I watched it on our big TV and in the dark.
Oh damn!
So
I saw it in the dark.
But was your screen 13 inches or 52 inches?
I know where you're coming from because that's exactly what my wife said. Because she couldn't appreciate. She said she would appreciate it more if she saw it inside the theater.
And that's actually something that I personally felt. I mean, it does a fantastic job of world building. I mean, make no mistake. You're fully immersed. You feel it. You know what they're fighting over. You know that the stakes are more or less. I mean, you don't know what the overall scheme or plot is of the bad guys, but that's what part 2 is for. But overall, and you could shoot me for saying this, for me personally, it does such a fantastic job of adapting the book. It does less of a fantastic job being an introductory movie compared to something like The Fellowship of the Ring, which just sucks you in from the get-go.
It's so hard to compare it to that, though.
No,
because
but
that's on another level.
I know, but think about it. Peter Jackson spent years of his life, the same way that Denis Villeneuve spent years of his life, because he's been a fan of this book the same way Jackson has been a fan since they were children, okay? And Jackson spent years trying to figure out how to adapt it for the screen versus Denis Villeneuve. I think it was less about adapting it for the screen so much as how much of the book can I cram in there. That's how it hit me. So I had to be dragged kicking and screaming into Fellowship of the Ring. But this movie, I was excited to see.
I don't know. I think
yeah, maybe it's me.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's you.
It's not you. It's me.
No, I don't.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to justify it in such a way that because comparing both books, there was so much more politics you'd have to deal with. So there's really this level of literature you'd have to get through your head compared to what The Lord of the Rings was, which was set up to be an epic quest from the get-go.
If Dune, you read all the appendices and all the other things that Jackson was working with, Lord of the Rings can also be impossibly dense, honestly.
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
He knew what to keep and what not to keep it interesting and to suck you in. he didn't start you off with an overload in the first 30 minutes.
No, I don't know. I didn't. It didn't really feel like an overload because right from the get go, you knew what was gonna happen. Like there's a power struggle. It's basically if you're gonna put it for something that's more relatable, basically two countries fighting over territory because of its resources. Sounds very familiar. So, so it's basically that, but only this time you have two houses like Game of Thrones, and you have that one house that wants.
Right.
That again, wants control over it.
But like what I was saying earlier, think back to the pilot of Game of Thrones and how it made you fall in love with the characters so that when the dense stuff happened, you were along for the ride already. This one gives you no such buffer. It spends more time on the world building than the character building.
That's what I was gonna say, actually. If you want to compare the two,
true.
It's a different approach per director. So Peter Jackson went into it making you fall in love with the characters first, showing their charms, their relationships.
Right.
Meanwhile, Villeneuve really just focused it on the world itself and not so much on the emotionality and the relationships of the characters. They did have it. But it just wasn't that.
A little bit.
It just wasn't that warm and fluffy as the start of the Fellowship of the Ring, because that gave you like the warm fuzzies already. But this world is much colder. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not the Shire. You know what I mean? It's not coming from a warm place because this is already a dystopian future. So I feel like it's also a different approach in a way.
Yeah.
But if there's something that Lord of the Rings has over this, it's like you fall in love with the characters right away.
Yep. Here, everybody's just brooding. Everybody's problematic. Like,
Very brooding.
No. I don't mind brooding. I don't mind problematic. I don't even mind the dystopian part. It's just that I wanted to know why I should care. It all looks amazing, but because you put the cart before the horse, it just left me discombobulated. But it's all good. It's all good. You mentioned the political struggle, Anjo. You want to just give us a rundown of the plot?
Well, basically, House Harkonnen controls Arrakis, which is, we'll just call it Dune because it's a planet full of sand dunes. Kasi nandun lahat ng problema,
God.
So
right.
I don't know.
Okay.
So you have House Harkonnen, who basically controls Arrakis, and then you have House Atreides, who's been appointed by the Emperor of Galaxy or whatever to take control of Arrakis from Harkonnen. Of course, Harkonnen, being a powerful house, does not want to lose control of Dune because it has one of the biggest resources of said universe called spice. Now, all of these things happen because the Emperor does not want House Atreides to grow more powerful, and of course, you know why Harkonnen does not want to let go of something so valuable. So all the political struggles are there in place. The scaffolding and whatever the groundwork they did for all the political issues are in place. So basically, everything that happens next is a power struggle to take control over Arrakis.
I was gonna say that you left out the part where their main protagonist is actually the son of House Atreides, who's Paul, played by Timothy Chalamet, and he is the latest in a long line of chosen ones who will lead this planet to salvation or destroyed forever, whichever way the sequel goes. I'm not going to spoil that here.
Don't spoil it.
His father is played by
Oscar Isaac.
Yet another fixture from another sci-fi franchise.
And his mother,
Rebecca Ferguson
from Mission Impossible, has her own agenda because she's part of, an intergalactic sisterhood that has been trying
the Jedi. Wrong franchise.
Ano
Yes,
ba?
the Jedi that have been trying for
franchise.
generations to craft genetically their perfect chosen one. And then you have, Paul's buddy, Duncan Idaho, who has the best
Jason
name
Momoa.
in this movie.
Aquaman.
Yes, Aquaman plays Duncan Idaho, who has possibly my favorite name in this entire franchise just because
Actually.
of how out of place it is.
I know.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have Idaho. A very cute.
I know.
Very, okay, cool.
I mean, think about it.
Idaho. Sorry.
Good for you. On that planet, on Arrakis, you also have the Indigenous People, who are led by Javier Bardem. I'm not even gonna try. I'm not gonna try it. When you see him, it's just Javier Bardem, and one of them is also played by Zendaya from Spider-Man, and they are the only people who can survive in the desert because they are wearing basically portable. Well, they're called still suits, but they're basically walking filtration systems that let you recycle all your poop and your pee so you don't die in the desert.
And drink them again. Yummy.
Science.
Bear Grylls would be proud.
And, while all the superpowers are fighting over Dune's infinite supply of spice, which powers both their hallucinogenic episodes and their spaceships, their navigators. So you have to get super high to drive a spaceship properly, it seems.
Nice.
Everybody wants in on this.
Because they literally get high. You fly these.
She's on a high above me.
I was gonna sing "Spice Up Your Life." Cause of the world, spice up your life. Anyway, moving on.
And training Paul, we have Thanos himself.
Oh my god, he's not purple. I'm so happy.
Oh nga pala.
We have Josh Brolin showing him the ropes. And I think that's about it. Basically, this cast is ridiculous. The head of House Harkonnen is, of course, Stellan Skarsgård, who you may remember. Can I just say something about Stellan Skarsgård? Why does he get naked in every freaking movie? Like, seriously, he's naked here. He's naked in Thor. I'm pretty sure I saw his butt in Mamma Mia.
Wait. He was naked in Thor? The second one.
Yes.
Yes, the one that everyone wants to forget.
That's why I forgot. That's why I forgot it. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
the
Misha
forces
didn't forget.
are led by Batista.
Oh yeah.
Drax.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He was very
There's so
Drax
many superheroes in this movie.
Can I just say he was still very Drax to me?
He was super Drax.
Only that
it's Dave Batista. I mean, like, he plays Dave Batista in every single movie that he's in.
And this is the guy who refuses to star in a movie with another wrestler because he wants to be taken seriously.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, because he has such range. Oh my god, he's gonna come to my house and he's gonna murder me and you're all gonna read about it in the papers.
He's gonna tear you apart with his bare hands.
Or he's gonna leave me a scathing tweet. Okay. So we've agreed that this thing is huge, epic, sprawling, looks fucking amazing. What did you think of Denis Villeneuve's direction? What did you think about his treatment?
It's very sandy.
Get out!
No, but I think the way that the movie was portrayed was, I mean, like, you're correct. I can't agree with you more about this movie spending 2/3 of its runtime world building, because
that's true.
Like, reading portions of the book, trying to understand, or if trying to see if I could actually stomach going through the entire thing. There's just really so much material he had to go through. So I think 2/3 of the runtime trying to, get familiar with how the rules worked in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was fine because it explains itself well. The setting of the setting and the situation the characters are in are perfect. You have the heir to the throne, apparent quote unquote throne, or the chosen one.
Joke lang.
Frodo.
This movie needed a one boob lady.
Yeah, maybe. But
Well, 3 boob lady would have been better because that would have fit Blade Runner. Oh wait, that's Total Recall. My bad.
Yes, it is.
Moving on. But,
well, me personally, since again I did not have any references to this without the book and everything, I thought I was gonna be overwhelmed knowing how much lore it actually has without really reading any of it or watching any of it. But I think it is a lot of setup in the start because you get set up to the whole politics, how the family works, the dynamic, everybody else serving under the Duke, all the right hand men and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would get overwhelming, but the shots are just like so damn pretty
Beautiful.
that, like, no matter how serious and humorless this world seems to be, at least it's fucking pretty to look at. And that's what sucked me in, honestly. So at least it has that factor to keep your attention despite the information overload that is attacking your brain currently.
yeah, I agree with that too.
And it has the same vibe as Blade Runner 2049, honestly, because it's also very sci-fi. It has also this dark contrast, all these amazing costumes of the people in this, in maybe in the army, or maybe people in the council and everything. It's so streamlined, so very sci-fi. So I think that we're seeing what he's really good at, sci-fi, and he's just working it. But despite all the coldness, how ironic, because we're talking about the desert. It was pretty cold, treatment-wise. But that's his thing, I guess.
If
I like
there
it.
was this one huge gripe I had with the movie is that I think the entire plot picks up like the last 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I think. I was like, oh, so this is where the plot picks up. Great.
Yeah, actually, everything, the first 2/3 of the movie are incredibly slow. But when you get to
Super.
the last third, it's like, bam, things are happening. Here you
Yeah.
go. We're getting the
It-
fights. We're getting the chases and stuff. So
It's
yeah.
kind of like a Chuck Palahniuk book where, like you're overloaded with so much information and then nothing's happening until the climax happens. It just doesn't stop until it does. That's what the last 45 minutes were.
And
Like,
I guess
oh, okay.
after you see it, it's being set up for a sequel, because it's like, no way is everything absolutely gonna happen in this last third. So that's exactly what happened. It's like, oh,
Yep.
okay, yeah, I guess there's a sequel to this.
For me, okay, and again, it's just me, right? What I was saying earlier about the whole world building thing and the characters being sidelined for a big part of it. I don't need them necessarily to be as lovable per se as, let's say, the Hobbits, but this movie, in a lot of ways, reminded me of the first Harry Potter, wherein it's a great translation of what's on the page, but it just rubbed me the wrong way as an adaptation, because they're more concerned about getting the words onto the screen than they were about what the audience might need to keep them sustained. That's why I enjoyed even the second or third Harry Potter so much more, because they felt more room to play because they already laid down the foundation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
I get it. Yeah, I think it really is just a gigantic setup for the sequel. That's what I feel.
And
Yeah, that's
and the cool thing about Denis Villeneuve is that he didn't feel the need to make it accessible necessarily. He decided that he was going to make the best damn Dune translation.
Best
what
damn
he
Dune.
saw in his head, from what he grew up on, from what he read on those pages, and fine, kudos to him. He actually did it. And what you were saying about Blade Runner, yes, Blade Runner is a slow burn, also incredible film, by the way. But what helps you get through the first 2/3 of that, because like you said, it's really slow. Blade Runner was that you already had a preconceived notion or some affinity for what's going on because you had the first film as context. This one does not.
Yeah.
So that's what made it a bit harder to take in
Probably.
from my point of view. But also, yes, I think I really should have seen it on a big screen.
Yeah, that's really like one of the biggest uncontrollable things we couldn't deal. We had to deal with, like, not being able to go to cinemas.
That is true. That is true. That's why I'm just so glad that that they put it out on HBO's apps. But for everybody who is going to take the time to go out to the cinemas to see this, please let us know how it hits you, because I would love to know.
Just stay safe and wear a mask and make sure you're vaccinated.
Yes, and if you see more than 5 people in the theaters, get out.
But
Get out
can I
now.
just say something that's bizarre to me? In a world of intergalactic travel and spice and Atreides.
Oh my god, this is exactly reminding me of the Spice Girls video. I'm sorry. Spice Up Your Life also had a very futuristic music video. Just saying.
Yeah, they had hoverboards.
They had
Right?
hoverboards. They had a spaceship.
I know,
Yes.
that's why it's perfect. That's the perfect soundtrack. I wish
And
it played at the end credits.
Oh my god.
Yes. Timothy Chalamet with his amazing cheekbones can announce,
Ugh.
people of the world.
Ugh,
Spice up your
Beautiful.
life. Every boy and every girl,
Beautiful.
spice up your life.
face of an angel. Anyway.
All right. We've been through the crazy cast and their amazing names and the inexplicably named Duncan, Idaho. Tell me about the characters, guys. Tell me about the actors. What did you like?
Ugh. Wait, can
Okay.
I just, can I
counts.
Are we gonna transition into a
Counts.
thirst portion?
Yeah, this counts as the third
Yeah,
portion,
okay.
I think.
MJ, let's go. You have the floor.
Not only were the shots beautiful, but the actors, my goodness. My goodness. Oh my god. And it makes sense this is all set in the desert because it made me thirsty.
You needed one of the still suits, you know.
Okay, seriously though. Amazing cast. Oh my god, I'm not just gonna be biased towards the men, okay? Rebecca Ferguson. That
Hell
face.
yeah.
She's so beautiful. And it just totally makes sense to have her as Timothy Chalamet's mother. I don't know. They just like look so good as a mother son. They just look.
But
They
look at his
just
jawline. He sliced her on the way out of her womb.
gago. Yeah, I mean it's an amazing jawline. But okay, Oscar Isaac. He actually surprised me here because the last sci-fi movie we've seen him in, aka Star Wars, he was a totally different character. Here,
Right.
he's respectable. He is a
He's
leader.
Ned Stark.
He was.
Yes.
Yes, he's
Just-
basically Ned Stark.
And well, he plays Poe, right? In Star Wars, and he's totally different there. He's cocky. He's
He's Han Solo.
charismatic.
Rash.
Yes, exactly. Han Solo light. But here you see him with authority. And I also like that he has a soft spot for his son. That's adorable too. So I like the whole little family dynamic there. And am I still thirsting? Okay, Jason Momoa.
Here
I'm
we
just
go.
It's gonna go on and on, right? Although he still is a very action star, charming as he usually is. It
Duncan,
jarred-
Idaho.
Yeah, it jarred me a little bit how he shaves in the middle of the movie.
It's like, ha! He doesn't have facial hair.
I know, because you first see him coming from like this expedition, and he's all facial haired up, and then later on he's like, he shaved. Okay, cool.
Facial haired up.
It's like, okay, yeah. I mean, he still looks real good. I mean, I'd see why. You get home, you shave. That makes sense. I mean, you've been out in the desert for weeks. Why not? I'm gonna shave. So yeah, okay.
Getting high, hanging with the natives.
Cowabunga, dude. Anyway.
He's still surfer guy, I swear. He's space surfer guy.
Yeah, but I'll stop my thirst portion now. I'm good.
I thought you'd go
Just-
to Josh Brolin.
I
Okay,
know.
yeah, there you go. Thanks for reminding me. He is the weapons expert, and
Mhm.
I love this little training it was a montage, but I like this whole part where he was training Timothy Chalamet and everything. It's pretty cool.
Right. Because they got the same technology as basically fucking Jar Jar Binks from episode 1, where if you go too fast, the force field stops you. So bullets and lasers are useless, so you gotta go in slow. Hit him with a sword, hit him with a knife.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm done thirsting now. Thank you.
Are you really?
You
Zendaya.
sure?
We didn't see much of her, to be honest. Well, we did, but not much of her acting. It's just like usually these dreamy, angelic shots.
Right. She was like
Yeah.
the perfume commercial portion of the movie.
That's true.
I
That's
need
true.
to
But she
thank
was.
Deng for that one because it's just so fucking true. It really
Yeah,
would become a
it is.
perfume commercial.
It
Whenever-
is.
Yeah, and
that-
anything with
that's like-
Zendaya in this movie, it's like, a
It's-
fashion film.
It's like 90% of everything she's in it was exactly like a perfume commercial. And not complaining. She looks beautiful. Beautiful.
It's funny because she's the one who brings us in, who introduces us into the world of Arrakis. Because she was the one narrating in the beginning, telling us, setting up the whole thing of what the conflict is, of what the conflict is in Arrakis. That was a mouthful.
No, it's
Anyway.
okay. Basically, you got your, white people, first worlders who go to the third world to exploit its natural resources, not giving the natives any choice in the matter.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
eventually, one of them decides to play white savior because he sees the error of his ways and he needs to partner up with these poor, downtrodden
Yes.
natives to fight back the superior forces.
Mhm.
This is
True.
literally a movie we've seen a lot, but
No, but-
the treatment here is so very different in that they put a sci-fi spin on it.
Mhm.
Something that's not as lazy as, let's say, Avatar.
Oh God.
In this case, again, the world building is incredible, and the director Denis Villeneuve is at the height of his powers.
Yes.
Something we've seen before in films like Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario.
Oh.
This guy
Sicario.
really knows
Oh, God.
his way around a movie.
Yes,
And
yes.
I enjoy it. In fact,
I mean-
I the only thing that could possibly make it better is if we had deacons on cinematography. Honestly,
That is my only gripe with this. Okay.
it looks amazing.
It already does look amazing. I mean, Villeneuve already has this sensibility, this style. But could you imagine it with the lighting contrast and all the beautiful framing and just like, oh my God, Roger Deakins. I'm a fangirl. I'm a huge Roger Deakins fangirl. But coming in, knowing that it wasn't Deakins, just already gave me a
Wow.
-1.
That's
I
like
mean,
a
it's like,
Prejudice. What the hell?
no. I mean, it's like, is this gonna be as epic as I hope it would be? Well, I hope to be proven wrong going into this, but when you've already seen the height of the visuals that the tandem of Villeneuve and Deakins can achieve, it's like, this could have been so much more epic. I'm so sorry. No shade to the cinematographer of this, but it's just that Roger Deakins is really just another level. I don't know why maybe he wasn't available. Then that's okay. Then there's nothing we can do about it. Not that my opinion matters anyway.
I don't
but
know. You don't sound convinced.
I mean, but Greg Fraser isn't a slouch though in terms of cinematography.
No,
It
I'm
wasn't
not,
that.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is. I'm not saying that he is, but it's just like you just know how much better it could be with Deacon since you've seen Sicario, you've seen
Yeah,
Blade
yeah.
Runner 2049, and maybe other Deacon's lensed work, even not necessarily with Villeneuve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've already seen that tandem. So it's like, let me compare it to like, if you've seen a Wong Kar-wai film lensed by Christopher Doyle already, and then you see the works after that. It's not as pretty. It's still great, but it's not as pretty. That's how I thought about it.
I get it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Especially since the last thing I saw of Deacon was 1917 in the cinema. Actually, one of the last films I saw in the cinema. And
I think that was the last one I saw.
And you know how good Roger Deakins' lighting is. The last Villeneuve film I watched was Blade Runner 2049, and I completely forgot who I watched it with.
You saw it with me! What the actual shit?
Misha.
I was right there!
Misha.
What? What?
Paperweight ka lang pala eh.
Actual hell, I was just a seat filler.
So it was you whose arm I was slapping and being like, "Tangina, ganda ng shot!" Yeah.
Well, I sure hope it was
also the
you
one-
knew the person whose arm you were slapping.
I am also the one who told you to watch the first one first, so you have context.
I'm so sorry.
You don't sound sorry.
I love you.
Not as much as I thought, but okay.
Before I hurt Misha's feelings even more, let's move on.
What are some of your favorite sequences in this thing? Because again, it's a film full of big, epic moments, and that's okay. Again, that's on me. It's got big, epic moments and entire stretches of just silence. So, what did you like? What are your favorite bits?
All right, coming from somebody who's played the game and seen parts of the first movie.
Ooh, there was a game?
Classic. Oh my
There
god,
was
it
a
was
game?
so fun.
That
Yes.
the game was the introduction. My introduction to the world of
Yes.
Dune. So
Yes,
Where did
that
that
game
out?
is a classic.
yeah. So having have played the game and having seen the first movie, the one thing I was waiting for was how Villeneuve would depict the sandworm. Because in the game, it's just it's there. Shit, I have to get my troops out of the way. In the first movie, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it looks like a giant dick. Huh.
Looks like a giant dick that expands
Oh.
into a 3-pronged vagina.
That's
Ew,
why
it's
it
like-
was scary, because it looked like a giant dick. You should have seen the toys they manufactured afterwards, like
Were you
Oh,
looking
God.
at selling toys or just toys?
the Dune toys.
You
My
sure?
God.
No judgments, man.
Okay.
Oh my God.
We're not kink shaming you.
because
Whatever
back
toys you like.
back in the 80s, they all
Your parents
wanted
let
to.
you have a dildo?
No, dude, I wasn't born when you were born.
Fuck
So I
off.
just-
Oh shit!
Anyway, I love you, Tomisha. You're not just a seat warmer.
This episode sucks.
No, but I mean, like that fucking scene when the sandworm first came out. They built up so much tension,
Right.
and you knew it was freaking scary. 'Cause
Right. Now it
It-
looks
it-
like a giant space anus.
well, fuck you, man. That's just not scary anymore.
Well, it's a giant worm with a butthole on the end
No, but
now.
it's just that the teeth are kind of scary. It's like the teeth of a gigantic whale that looks like more like hair rather than teeth, and then you see the sharp fangs afterwards, and it could fucking swallow up, a huge tank or whatever. That Dune,
Harvester.
that spice harvester. There you go.
Mhm,
I was trying to look for that word.
Spice up your life.
I think it was also so
Perfect.
more subtle the way Villeneuve did it, much in the same way that Spielberg did with Jaws, where less is more, because he didn't really show the worm,
That's
too much.
true.
Actually, Good
not
point.
like in
Yeah.
the first Dune movie, he had it jumping up and down. David Lynch had it jumping up and down the sand.
And before that, he'd have like lightning cracks hit to announce that the thing was on its way. Here,
Right.
it's like the
this one was-
T-Rex. You feel it more than you see it. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
where you're going.
So this is where I thought that it was such an understated thing. It was very subtle how he did it, and it was pretty horrific how he depicted the sandworm. That having been exposed to the game in the old movie, like this is one of the things that I was really looking forward to, was seeing the sandworm, and then of course the fight scenes.
Mhm.
Like we've seen the stupid fight scenes in the sci-fi miniseries and the 1984 movie. It was just like too strange. But how maybe it's because of the limitations of CG back then or practical effects. But
that was sad,
a few,
but really
few
good.
things that I enjoyed the most.
How about you, MJ? What are some of your favorite bits from the movie?
Actually, also going back to the sandworms, I really like the sequence where they were there in the desert and they were going to save the spice harvesters. It's your first real look into this menacing sandworm, and it also gave me a really good glimpse of how the Duke's leadership goes, because I really liked how
Oh, yeah.
he was very decisive in really prioritizing saving lives over, no matter how precious spice is and how hard it is to get, he definitely prioritized people's lives over it. And I really that really touched me. And also seeing Timothy Chalamet or Paul actually go down in action, also trying to save people, that was pretty cool.
And then
And
he had
that's-
this episode.
Yeah, and like that was super tense for me, and just to see
Yeah.
the sheer destruction it left afterwards, that was pretty
Mhm.
cool for me. That's when things
Mhm.
started picking up.
Yeah.
Finally.
like in any sci-fi movie, like there are the few things that I look forward to, apart from these things like the creatures, or of course the designs of the ships
Mm-hmm.
or the vehicles. Like in this case, they had their freaking helicopters that looked like dragonflies,
Ooh, I
Which is
thought
pretty
that was
cool.
pretty
They're
cool. Yeah.
ornithopters.
Yes.
ornithopters.
Mm-hmm.
Ornithopter sounds weird, but they look cool, especially when they had those wings flutter. Oh, dragonflies.
I like the bit where Paul is tested at the very beginning of the film because they.
What's
want
in the
to know-
box?
He's got to do this thing where he sticks his hand in a box, like those crazy arcade.
I was gonna
machines
sing a Lonely
before.
Island song.
Or like one of those games in variety shows, like guess what's inside?
Mhm. So he's got to stick his hand in the box, and then he's basically subject to intense pain. And the test is to see if he'll go with his animalistic instincts and pull back, or if his humanity will win out and he keeps his hand in the box. And I thought that was a very, very great sequence because at this point we don't know much about him. We don't know much about his family. We don't know, but we get to see what kind of a person he is.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, back in the old one, it was Kyle MacLachlan. Oh my god, who played Paul? And I think the only thing they have in common is the hair at this point, because
You don't have them
Mm,
cheekbones.
and
not even the hair. I think.
I was gonna say that Chalamet plays it a lot more subdued. McLachlan, he was like in his first movie back then, and he was I don't know, he was just trying to figure out what to do with it. I think he was also confused because
I'm sorry. The '84 movie. If you watch it again, like it seems like everybody is overacting.
everybody's
Even
freaking
if-
overacting because they had no idea what's going on because the script was
Yep.
being rewritten every day. They didn't know if they could pull off the sequences. They didn't know if they get a sequel. So yeah, that movie's a mess. Like David Lynch still denies it exists to this day.
Well, thanks to a lot of YouTube videos saying that David Lynch did a 1984 movie and having this new movie produced, nobody
no one's gonna
it can't be
forget.
helped.
You
No one's
really
gonna
gotta
forget that
compare them now.
you made that movie. You made that mess of a movie.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, and Sting in his metallic underpants.
Oh my god.
Who was Sting
No.
supposed to be?
He plays a Harkonnen nephew. He's not actually in this one, in this version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those images you kind of want to forget but can't.
I know. It's like
I
how
haven't
Lynch
seen it.
wants to pretend that this movie doesn't exist. I want to
haven't-
pretend that this image of Sting
Wait.
doesn't exist.
Have
I
you
wanna
seen
see-
that image?
No, I want to see this.
You sure?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Alright.
Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah. Yep. Hit me.
You sure?
Hit me. Okay.
No.
Okay. For those of you who are
he's-
listening, we will share it on our group.
He's
So
working
you can,
that metal bikini.
yeah.
Ask for the message in a bottle.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going
Yep.
to share this in the group just in case you guys want to see it too.
Don't stand so close to him.
Feel my pain.
Oh, it gets worse. There's like options.
Oh my god. Why
He's
is
got-
he
he's got his
posing like
arms
that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess this gets me more excited for the sequel to see who plays this and who wears that amazing underwear, sparkling underwear.
Metallic leather, whatever. I don't know how to describe it.
Mhm.
You know.
Okay. Well, speaking of images I kind of want to forget. Well, not really. I mean, he played it really well, but Stellan Skarsgård as a Jabba the Hutt kind of motherfucker was kind of like traumatizing to me.
Actually, yeah, that image is kind of hard to shake, especially the fact that he starts levitating.
He was
Yeah,
like-
and like how he
Fucking
eats
hell,
and
man.
stuff. Sobrang baboy niya kumain. And it's like,
Kumakain siya sa steam room niya. It's like,
it's like, ugh. Well, he plays a very effective villain, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, he's amazing.
he-
but, you
he's
know, just
an
the
amazing
imagery
actor.
of it. Yeah. But
Mhm.
I guess the image that they wanted to portray of him is just like,
You know
it's
what
like
my-
Jabba the Hutt, but worse.
I felt that this is where a lot of Villeneuve's cinematic influences come into play because his reveal, his characterization is a lot like yes, there are elements of Jabba the Hutt, but his actual reveal and the treatment of him was more like Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, where he's mostly in shadow and it's just bit by bit that they reveal how just actually disgusting and depraved this guy is. In fact,
yeah.
so Skarsgård was wearing like his 50-pound fat suit, right? Which I hope doesn't offend anyone, honestly, at this point. And he actually requested, like, he wanted more nude scenes
Wow.
because he's like, this guy is so powerful, he's so rich, he doesn't give a fuck if you're offended. He's gonna just let it all hang out. He's just gonna levitate with his junk in your face, He doesn't care. So yes, he's like the love child of Jabba the Hutt and Colonel Kurtz, and it's just objectively disgusting, honestly.
Yeah,
which is
he
perfect
achieved
because you
that
really had.
goal.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to paint a very, a villainous picture. So what better way to do it than create
Get
a
naked.
grotesque looking character and who's perfectly comfortable being naked around people.
Good
There's
for
actually
you, dude.
some segments of the internet now who are complaining why he had to be presented as such. Why couldn't he be good looking? Why couldn't he? Just because he's overweight, he's evil? Is that what we're saying?
No.
I mean, you really got the whole white savior trope in Overdrive with Chalamet, where he's gonna go save these mixed people from these mixed natives from their own backward selves with his
Well-
superior whiteness.
I guess it also reflects his character of how he doesn't care. He gets everything that he wants. So like, I think
Yeah.
it's such a good depiction of I overindulge.
Yeah.
Good one. Yeah,
The
absolutely.
excess.
Everything in excess. I don't
Mhm.
care. Like I don't even have to walk.
Yeah, I just
Levitate. I'll
float.
float. Honestly, when he
It's like
started,
if
he
you
flew
could,
up.
you
I
would
was like,
have a
what?
hover thing too. You would have like a hover pack. You know, you would just like float around from room to room in the house.
I would not if it's in my house, but if I was traveling and my feet were tired, that would be useful. I like exercising. Like,
No,
let's say
I would use the hover rig. I'm sorry, to get a glass of water.
that is how
Like to walk the dog, I would just hook up the leash to the hover thing and let it go. I would stay home and watch TV.
That is why we will
Wow.
all end up looking like people in Wall-E.
Hover chairs.
Hover chairs.
Yeah, I
Ah.
see your future, Misha.
Yeah, but I think that's a justification of why he had to look that way, is because he lives a life of overindulgence,
Mm-mm.
and like I get what I want when I want,
Mhm.
and there's nothing you can do about it.
I think also that they wanted to make a distinct contrast against the thin, good-looking people in House of Atreides.
Very good.
Wait.
Oh, such a beautiful family.
I know.
It's like, please adopt me.
Some of their servants, not so much, but them as the family, you could totally see that we were bred for this.
But I guess
Yeah.
it's really old material. They had those tropes
That is true.
back
The book
then,
was
so they're
written in the
just
60s.
adapting. Yeah, they're
Mhm,
just adapting it.
But you really had the setup of which house was presented as the good ones, like
Mm.
from the like I like how it had to be neutral at first, because when Zendaya was the one introducing it,
Mhm.
like she was saying like their oppressors, when they left, welcome the new ones again.
Right.
And then you see the House of Atreides, like, and you see how the Duke would operate. Be like, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna focus on the people. We don't force them to work. We work with them. It's like typical white savior thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of awkward. He was still talking like colonial, honestly, a colonizer.
Mm.
Colonizer.
Yeah.
So it was
Mm.
it was uncomfortable for me watching Oscar Isaac interact with Javier Bardem.
Oh yeah, and like the whole cultural divide of like him
Mhm.
thinking spitting is an insult.
I like-
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the spit part though. I was like, it's like,
Because yeah, like we it's now that you think about it, yes, we are in a very moisture deprived setting, so that
Mhm.
is actually a gift.
It's a
It's
sign
valuable.
of respect. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just how absolutely offended Josh Brolin was. He's like, "Hey, how dare you?"
Yep. But I like that Oscar Isaac's guy was, for the most part, for a colonizer, he was very level-headed, and he was presented as the good guy. We're supposed to sympathize with this colonizer who wants to rape this planet, but not with the ugly guy who also wants to continue
Yes.
raping this planet, who previously
part-
raped this planet and wants to rape
My-
it again.
my cousin, who's a huge sci-fi guy, has read the Dune books, and saying, like, he said, if you read the Harkonnen books, yes, there are books of House Atreides and books for House Harkonnen.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think going in which house is the good guy or the bad guy, because in those books, in all the books, you'd see them all as neutral houses with their each of their own interests.
Absolutely. So, but I think that's also why, going back to what you said earlier, they had to paint Skarsgård, head of House Harkonnen, in as
Negative
unflattering a light
picture.
as possible, so that we know instantly, he's the bad guy, because we're horrible people. We just assume that anyone who's ugly is a bad guy. But yes, he's the bad
Wasn't-
guy. We have
Wasn't that the clue where you had this one guy shrouded in mist, not even seeing his face?
like
Oh,
Batman?
he must be.
You hate Batman? Do you hate Batman? Sabihin mo na.
He's
I
not
was just-
naked,
Yay!
and he does not. He does not have an entire court of damsels and like there watching him in bathe.
Well, I guess in this context, it's already so overloaded with information that it kind of doesn't want to confuse you anymore in terms of who to root for anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So at least visual cue, there you go. That's it. That's one less thing to process out of the many other bajillion things you need to know in this world.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know what other scenes I really enjoyed in this movie? Every time Rebecca Ferguson would use the voice.
Oh,
yeah,
The fucking voice.
Sorry.
Like, okay,
Jedi
we
mind
all know
trick.
that Jedi mind tricks are fucking badass, but how David Villeneuve depicted what the voice was, that was fucking scary and amazing at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I
It's
love
like
that.
Gollum. It's like Gollum's voice mixed with, like a deep, echoey voice. Like, what the fuck?
Like Vin Diesel?
Yeah. No. Maybe. But I don't know, like, especially that scene when they're in the ornithopters. Ornithopters. Ornithopters? They're helicopters, whatever.
Yeah, but where they were held
Dragonfly
captive.
copters.
Dragonfly
They were-
copters.
Where
Dragonfly
they were
copters.
held captive.
Yeah, but then she was saying, like, you can't do it. You can't, in complete sign language, like, you can't do it yet. You're not ready for this. And then when she gets herself free, like, stop, cut the rope, stab him in the face. I was like, whatever. That was fucking badass.
That was
That's
That was
like
so
one of the
fucking
best
cool.
scenes in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
that was so fucking cool.
man, I could just rewatch the entire movie just for that scene.
Yeah, that
Like,
that
all,
whole
like-
the voice thing.
This is the voice.
No,
Oh,
Maling voice.
yeah.
no. But yeah, that was a really cool element to it. That whole female fellowship with these mysterious powers and
Yep.
the voice and how Timothy Chalamet actually wasn't supposed to learn it because they only teach it to the women.
Yeah, I actually like how Rebecca Ferguson was saying your pitch was off. You came off too strong. We're like, whoa, there's actual training. It's like singing.
Actually,
This is the
I
voice.
want to see how Denis Villeneuve fleshes out that story point because,
Cool.
fine, he is a space white savior trope, but he's also been genetically created specifically to be the white space savior trope
That's true.
from a bloodline that's been traditionally female
Mhm.
in their the members that have the power. So you can see that in that scene with the box where,
What's in the box?
he's
Your
treated
hand.
with skepticism just because he's treated skepticism because space savior's not supposed to have a penis, so that's why he's got to stick his hand in that box. And the fact that he actually has some aspects of the voice, it'll be interesting to see how Villeneuve fleshes it out, because now he's got to win over the natives at the end of this movie and turn them to his cause to fight back the other white oppressors. 'Cause
Mhm.
he's a good white oppressor. Oh god, the white savior trope is just, there's no winning.
Yeah, there's no escaping it really. But if there's anything this film did, is really hype us up for whatever is coming next. So I think that's a good
Mhm.
sign.
Yep, and now that the sequel's been greenlit, well, let's see where this goes. So, okay, we talked about some of the things we liked, talked about some of the things we didn't like. What would you do differently? Let's say they gave you the director's chair tomorrow. Let's make
Hi,
Dune-
Roger Deakins!
I knew it. I was gonna try and
I
beat
didn't
you to
even
the
let
punch.
you finish. I'm sorry.
I was
Anyone
gonna
who's
try
not
and
MJ want to give an answer?
Seriously though, okay, I am again.
watch
I am,
it with Misha and remember that I watched it with Misha.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
That's what I would do differently.
Oh my god.
There.
No shade to Greg Fraser. It was amazing work. But if you've just already seen Villeneuve's work with Deakins, this didn't necessarily give me as iconic shots as, let's say, Blade Runner 2049. With you have these certain shots that really stick to your brain. That shot with Ana de Armas as this whole digital girl in
Mhm,
pink and
mhm.
blue.
Yep.
Also, Ryan
Ana de
Gosling,
Armas.
treading through these huge statues, and the lighting there was amazing. And Roger Deakins and his amazing play on light and shadow and silhouettes, that would have just been the cherry on top for me. But otherwise,
Damn,
because I can't really think of like an iconic shot here. I mean, all of them were pretty, but were any of them iconic?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the gathering when the announcement of it wasn't iconic. It just
You mean the Nazi
opening.
gathering?
No, not the Nazi gathering. When House
That's
of
totally
Atreides
what it
was no, when House of Atreides was assembled to meet with the envoy of the Emperor. to take
That
the
was
role.
pretty. Yes, it
Yeah.
was actually pretty, but still not at that
was
level,
the
I was saying.
yeah, you're right. That was the closest thing to iconic.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause,
So,
you know,
this is all because I have the ability to compare. That's only because I have something to compare it with. But if I just didn't compare, period, I liked it. And I guess they condensed what they could have in this totally dense world into like 2 hours and 30 minutes plus whatever's going to
That's
happen in the
still-
sequel.
Oh yeah.
that's
So-
still pretty long.
Yeah, it's still pretty
You know?
long, but I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't lost. So
Yeah.
that counts for something. As a
Well,
non-sci-fi fan already, so it's fine.
I knew coming in what I was going to get myself into. So, but the first thing I did was when I played the movie was check the scrub how long the entire thing was because
I do
it's like
that too.
oh crap, it's 2.25 hours long. It's so long, but I don't know. I just appreciated how he built the world. You know, it didn't really feel that long to me because I paid attention, like really paid attention to this movie. And if my wife paid attention to it, because she normally uses her phone, that means that means the movie is good. I love you, babe.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
You gotta unpack something here.
In the next episode of
Pas-
Sub-Auteurs
oh.
minus Anjo.
Lagot.
So what's that?
Lagot ka
No, but,
kayo, Pash.
No, she won't deny it though. Like sci-fi really is not her thing. Like I would go through so much arguments, not argument. I would go through so much convincing just to get her to watch a sci-fi movie or a sci-fi series. You know, like if I tell her, oh, let's watch this, it's sci-fi. Oh, you go ahead. I'll watch it. I'll watch something else. You know, since we're stuck at home and we can use different streaming platforms. So there. But this one, she was game. Like she decided to watch it, and she paid attention. Like and she really liked the movie. But one thing I would change probably a little I don't know if it's possible, but maybe we might see it in the sequel. A little more focus on the characterizations, because I agree with the both of you that it kind of lacked focus in that area. But then again, there's just so much to go about with the source material that maybe they had to spend some time trying to build the world so people could understand what the situation was in that universe. You know, specifically in Arrakis.
Well, for my part, what I said earlier, I have no issues with dystopian futures. I have no issues with talkie sci-fi. I mean, I grew up on Star Trek, so talkie sci-fi is my jam. But what I was just missing here was characters that I could latch on to. Not necessarily not necessarily fall in love with, but I just wanted to feel something for the characters. And if I had a chance to redo it, like if they made me remake this movie tomorrow, that's where I would put the money. I would spend a little more time fleshing out the characters to just let us know why we should care. Besides the intergalactic politics and colonial overtones and amazing visuals. I'll give it that. It's not Deacons. I'm sorry, MJ, but it looks fucking amazing. The blend of
It
CGI
does.
and physical effects here is just brilliant. The choice of shots, the production design, the costumes, all of it is just top notch. And honestly, I think everybody should fucking see this on the biggest screen that they can.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
And
I-
I want to know what their reaction is, honestly, when this thing opens in cinemas here on November 10.
10. Yes. So I'm also thinking, like, do I want to risk it? We'll see. We'll think about it. But if you've seen it, don't forget to let us know. We have a Facebook group, Sub-Auteurs We Like Movies. You can share your thoughts there. And we will share this link, I guess, there, and find the photo of Sting if you really, really want to see it. Or anything related to this podcast at all. So go check it out. Just look it up, Sub-Auteurs We Like Movies. And we have also got Instagram, instagram.com/sub_auteurs.
For any suggestions, you can check us out Dune.
Mother of God. Can I just say thank you for doing your closing spiel? Because for once, I didn't have to try and do it with the two of you.
Damn it! No!
Providing
do it!
musical
Please do
accompaniment.
it! No! I want to sing Spice Up Your Life!
Why did I just know
do
that's the song you were gonna
that?
choose?
Because she's been saying it. Let's do
it over with Misha, please! I want to sing!
Well, I'm sorry. You had your chance.
Fine.
Damn it.
Until the next episode, we are the
Spice up your life!
Sub-Auteurs.
Spice up your life!
She really had to force it in.
This has been our episode on Denis Villeneuve's Dune
Shake it to the right.
2021. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll look forward to seeing you next week in our next episode. Until then, we are your hosts. I'm Nisha.
Hi, see ya, hold tight.
That's MJ. And I'm Andrew.